Today is April 1st, 2016, and this is episode 297. This program is intended for informational and educational purposes only. Cryptocurrency is a new field of study. Consult your local futurist, lawyer, and investment advisor before making any decisions for yourself. Welcome to Let's Talk Bitcoin, a twice-weekly show about the ideas, people, and projects building the digital economy and the future of money. My name is Adam B. Levine, and today we shadow LTB host Stephanie Murphy at the recent Texas conference. From CoinTalk to Dorian Nakamoto, Bitcoin ATMs to the collaborative community-based ideology of cooperatives. From the seemingly simple wish to not finance causes one does not support, to the competition working to be Bitcoin's 2.0. There's a lot to talk about. This episode also includes the first show within a show on LTB. We're very pleased to share the first installment of Smart Law, Pamela Morgan's look at the legal landscape where we'll get to know smart contracts in the months and years to come. But first, CoinTalk, CryptoKit, Crypto Cards, and Dorian Nakamoto. One of these things is not like the other.
This is Stephanie with Let's Talk Bitcoin. I'm at the Texas Bitcoin Conference, and I'm here with Kyle from CoinTalk. Hey, Kyle.
How's it going?
Good. You're an old friend. You've been on the show before.
I have. Thank you for having me on. In fact, I caught you actually isolated the snippet of yourself from my show and put it on your blog, and I was going to send you a message and say thank you for that, because I listened to it, and there was some high praises, so thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, yeah. And thanks for open sourcing your show so that I could promote it and everything. How are you enjoying the conference so far?
So far, so good. It's been crazy. I didn't know I was coming until last minute. Basically, I've got so much going on in Toronto now. We're trying to get the CoinTalk studio all set up, and basically decided on Monday that I'd be coming out. And so it's been a rush, but it's been good.
Ooh, start packing, yeah.
Yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow morning as well. So it's I'm in and I'm out.
Right. So, okay, you're from Canada. What are the and you're very active in the Bitcoin community. What are the differences you see when you walk into the U.S. and the way that people use Bitcoin and buy and sell Bitcoin? I know you got lots of ATMs up there, but here we apparently have to give our fingerprints.
Yeah, apparently. Well, the first thing I noticed coming down to Texas was that everybody's saying y'all. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yes.
That being said, though, the differences that I see between Canada and the States, for whatever reason, and maybe this is legislation or maybe this is just political parties being lax in Canada, we've been able to get away with a little bit more. We don't need to follow as strictly the KYC, at least not yet. Now that's changing. So right now all we need to do for verifications with ATMs up to $10,000 is a phone number. So that's been tremendously liberating in the sense that people can come in, get a text message confirmation, and get their Bitcoins without having to go on record. I'm a bit of an anarchist at heart. And so for me, when I had to theoretically, when the RoboCoin came to Vancouver and you needed to do the palm print, I was like, ugh, is that where we're going with this? Because I agree with your sentiment that I don't necessarily want to bow to the regulators, and I want to push this movement into the free space.
Or give up biometric data that could be stolen by just regular criminals,
Absolutely. I've switched to Android now, and part of the reason was because of the blockchain app being yanked. But the other reason is that I just can't deal with fingerprint scanners. It's I just don't want that technology, and the fact that it might become de facto, I'm not a big fan of that. So,
Right. So, tell me more about what projects you're working on right now.
So right now, I'm working on CoinTalk. Basically, we're trying to flesh it out into a full video show. We're going to try and switch to a live model, so that's really been taking up a lot of
Wow, that's a lot of production, on a live video show.
Yeah, well, basically what we want to do is we want to set it up so that we have a switcher. The problem with the show, especially when you're dealing with video and file size and all that kind of stuff, is that you need a beast to do the editing. So if we can switch that to a live model, hopefully by the end of March, we'll at least be able to, or I'll at least be able to get up and walk away and have it be done, and be broadcasted out.
I can really relate to that as a longtime podcaster, and I'm sure with video it's 10 times worse, having to edit everything. It's much easier to do a live show and just live with the mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of like you have to play the balance between being good enough to be live and also, minimal editing.
That too, you have to be good enough to do a live show.
Yeah. I want to quote, what's that guy, Bill O'Reilly, right?
Yeah.
So I've got that on the go. I'm also working on a few side projects. I'm doing doing advertising for Crypto Cards, which is an offline wallet solution that uses laser-etched aluminum cards. You can check that out at cryptocards.co.
Oh, let's talk about that, because I saw some of the prototypes yesterday. I don't know if they were prototypes or the actual real thing, but you had some in your wallet, and they were really cool. It's basically a paper wallet, but it's not paper. It's etched metal, like you said. Mm-hmm. And you've got your public deposit address or verify address in there, and then you've also got a private key, but it's encrypted in such a way that if somebody physically stole your card, they wouldn't be able to get your coins because you have to have an associated password with that private key. Did I get that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So Crypto Cards is another company that's based out of Toronto, and basically the idea is that they generate laser-etched aluminum offline wallets. And so you go to the website, you download a GitHub package to generate the wallet offline. You can do Bitcoin, Litecoin, Peercoin, and Dogecoin. And effectively, you download the package, you encrypt it yourself, and you upload the keys. So they're never holding onto your passphrase. And basically, when you get it in the mail, you get a slick card. It's waterproof, crumple-proof. It won't rust or corrode. It's fireproof up to 600 degrees. And so it's taking the concept of an offline wallet, but it's really extending it over time. It's time resilient and it's element resilient.
An extra security feature in there with the password.
Absolutely. And in fact, a lot of the users, from my understanding, are scanning them into wallets like Mycelium and using them as viewing addresses. And so you can monitor your public address, never take the wallet online, but you can verify that your funds are there. And should you lose your phone or whatever, you still have the card in like a safety deposit box or under your bed or buried in the earth or wherever you want to use it. I think there's a real need for offline wallets, and so I'm glad that there's new offline wallet solutions coming up.
Me too. And one thing that I really notice is there are a lot of sort of physical Bitcoin or kind of physical offline wallet solutions that are coming out. But, you don't want to necessarily have for instance, a physical Bitcoin or a silver round with a private key on it that you have to break into to access. You want something that's like a card, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That you can easily carry around, and that doesn't cost a lot to manufacture. That's another thing.
Yeah, exactly. The prices are, I think they sell for $12. The cool thing about it is that you can actually get like a public-only key, and then you've got a bigger QR code, and you can keep that in your wallet. There's no risk of somebody brute forcing your BIP38 passphrase, though that's near to impossible anyways. But the cool thing about those cards is that you can take them out at ATMs, for example, and scan them at the ATM and send it directly offline. So there's functionality like that, which is really cool. It actually minimizes the time that it's in a hot wallet.
Yes, that is very, very cool. And yeah, I don't mean to knock the other types of solutions too. I'm sure there are lots of people who want sort of more permanent kinds of cold storage, like the physical Bitcoins and the silver and gold integrated ones. But there's definitely a place for plastic too.
Yeah. Well, aluminum in this case.
Aluminum,
I think they're going to offer carbon fiber, marble, all sorts of cool things coming up. The other thing is that people are waiting on hardware wallets, and hardware wallets are going to be really cool, but they're just not here yet, you know what I mean? And so it's kind of like we need the solution that we can have today in a certain regard, and these things are pretty cool. So
yeah, absolutely. So
let's talk about this Satoshi Nakamoto unmasked thing for a moment.
Okay, we have to talk about this. So I woke up and I was rushing to the conference today, but there was an article that came out from Newsweek, I think, and they claimed to have found someone who was actually named Satoshi Nakamoto, lives in California, is a libertarian, and made Bitcoin. Although there was no confirmation in this article from my skimming of it that the guy didn't admit, like, yes, I am Satoshi. They just kind of pegged him as Satoshi, which...
Yeah,
he wants to be anonymous. Come on,
absolutely.
Leave him alone.
As far as I know, and I read the article, but it's not really even the greatest article.
I think it's cool. I don't think it's true, but we'll see. Right?
I don't know what to think. There are two things that I think are odd about it and that I can't place. The first thing is that Gavin basically made a tweet about it, Gavin Andresen, about he was giving condolences to the Nakamoto family. I don't know if that's because this family, whether or not it is Satoshi, is going to have to deal with massive repercussions now.
I think that's, yeah.
It might be the case. I'm on the fence about it. And then the second thing is that it seemed to be pretty well researched. It seemed like the reporter had at least spoken to like 20 or 30 people to narrow it down.
Well, the key to a good lie is details, right? And, we'll see if those details are actually verified.
Yeah, and the other thing is that if you look at the apparently they found like forum posts from this Satoshi Nakamoto, not necessarily the cryptographer Satoshi, and they don't match. They're totally different English usages of words and like different pronunciations, and structures. So I don't know. I mean, that could be the work of a brilliant person trying to create multiple trails, but I'm on the fence. But I think it's interesting. I think it's unfortunate that as a community we're trying to focus on the celebrity aspect as opposed to the technology aspect, but such
I
is
think
life.
that's one of the smartest things that Satoshi could have done for Bitcoin. It's not about him. It's about Bitcoin.
Yeah, you got to disappear. You got to basically take away the ammunition of anybody who wants to challenge the platform and let it stand on its own merits. So, Satoshi, if you're out there listening and you're not the actual guy that was named in the article today, we're with you. Keep hiding. I want to see if those coins move, though.
Yeah, solidarity with the real Satoshi.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the rogue candidate Satoshi. What do you call it when
the Satoshi stand-in? Let's call it.
Satoshi stand-in. Yes.
Fall guy.
Solidarity with the fall guy too.
Even from the perspective of perhaps being like a planned fall guy, that actually gets the heat off of the real Satoshi if you want to go into the conspiracy realm. But who knows? Who knows?
Indeed. We'll find out more as time goes on, and I think we got to get ready for this charity luncheon that's coming up. So, Kyle, thank you for coming on. Let's Talk Bitcoin, as always.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and keep up the good work. You guys are doing a great service. So
great to talk with you. Thank you. And cointalk.ca, is that your site?
Cointalk.ca, or just Google us or go to YouTube, type in Cointalk, one of the first things you find. And if you're interested in the offline wallet, you can check out their site at cryptocards.co.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm talking with Hasib Awan from BitAccess. They are a manufacturer of Bitcoin ATMs, and they've already rolled some out in Ottawa, right? Based out of Ottawa.
Yeah, we're based out of Ottawa, but we have machines right now in Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Geneva, Winnipeg, and we should be launching in Dubai, Slovenia, Belgium, Mexico, Sydney, Melbourne, and Colorado, and a couple of other countries, Panama, within 2 weeks.
Okay, and we're here at the Texas Bitcoin Conference, but this, I don't know when this will air, but we're at the Texas Bitcoin Conference now. So what goes into manufacturing Bitcoin ATMs? Tell me about the security features and the features of the ATM itself. What does it do?
Sure. So the machine that, we have a two-way machine, which means that you can buy and sell Bitcoins. The unique proposition of our machine is you can have a hot wallet in the machine, so the transaction time is pretty faster than other competitor. Second thing, we have a recycle in our machine, which means you have lower operational expenses. So the money that goes into a machine is the money that goes out. So the operator doesn't have to fill in the dispenser and catch the and put it in a dispenser. So that's the unique proposition of our machine. On top of which, our upcoming machine will have a safe, ink bomb, alarm, if someone wants to break in, GPS in the machine. So these are all the security features on the hardware side.
So if someone tries to walk away with it, break into it, or anything like that, they'll be prevented from doing it.
Well, I don't think anyone can walk away with that. It's like 300 and 400 pounds.
Okay.
So, and bolted to the floor. So
okay.
Someone has to really, pretty much have to do a lot of effort. And
right.
Yeah.
And so that's interesting that these products are in a lot of different places around the world.
Yeah.
Do you have, if you're using this in the U.S., what do you have to do? Give up your soul, your fingerprints?
No, so our machines, the transaction limits, because we follow FINTRAC and FinCEN regulations. So up to a transaction of $3,000, we only take telephone number. So we send you a text message on your phone just to verify your number. You have to enter that code in order to proceed. And then beyond $3,000, you have to take your ID. We scan your ID and face match, make sure that it's the right person. But for smaller transactions, it's just a text message. We don't take biometric because there is no way. People are sketchy about that, and it's not a requirement of any kind of regulation at this point of time.
Wow, yeah.
So, I won't personally give my fingerprint, right?
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, it's not like something. So we don't take fingerprints at all.
Okay, so just to be clear, if somebody does a transaction that's less than $3,000, they would only have to give their phone number?
That's right. But being said so, these regulations can change because they are not defined by us. They're defined by the government.
Right. So, and that's the U.S. government, right? But does the same thing apply in Canada or in South America?
So right now we are following the one in Canada, right? $3,000. So, but at the same time, it could be changed to $1,000. But even like for smaller transaction, like I don't believe it will kick in for like $500, $300, $400. Again, we can set it up anytime we want. Like we can change those limits according to government.
Right. Okay. And so how are the ones that are out there doing right now? Like the ones that are actually trading where are they located and how are they doing?
Yeah. So right now, as I said, we have one in Winnipeg, Ottawa, Toronto, Switzerland, Montreal. So we have these locations. Roughly, we are doing around, like last month, we had around transaction of $500,000 on our machines. But it's a one-way right now, so they'll be moved to converted to two-way, and which will volume will increase. And so this is roughly like we are estimating we will be doing around probably $100,000 per day within like next 2 months, increasing because our volume is increasing, and we are working on something. We have limited our machines to one way right now, so that's the reason.
Oh, which way is that?
So like it's only one way right now. You can only buy Bitcoin, but
Okay,
the
only
machine
buy.
that would be launched like within this week would have two-way function.
Okay. And where are they located? Like restaurants, bars?
So the one in Toronto is located in a Bitcoin Decentral managed by Anthony Delorio. So it's in an incubator. The one in Ottawa is in a pub. The one in Winnipeg is in a pizza place. The one in Montreal is in Bitcoin Embassy. So the one in Geneva is also, I believe, in a kind of an office space incubator.
Uh-huh.
So pretty much they are in offices. We are focused on selling machines or like becoming like the people who are already in the space.
Great. And where can people find the company online?
So they can go on bitaccess.co, BITACCESS.co, and they can use this contact form to contact us.
Great. Okay. And one more question. How much, if somebody wants to buy one of these, how much does it cost?
Yeah, so our machine, we have different models with a $7,000 model, $12,000, and $15,000 model.
Okay. Thank you so much, Hasib. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
CryptoKit is the world's first Chrome browser Bitcoin wallet. It's the easiest, fastest Bitcoin wallet payment system. With a simple one-click install, it takes just seconds to get your wallet set up. And because CryptoKit finds the address and payment for you, there's no more fussing around or tab switching. CryptoKit is more than just a wallet. It comes with a preloaded PGP encrypted social network, news feeds from Reddit and Google, and up-to-date charts from exchanges. Finally, CryptoKit Directory allows you to make two-click payments with any of the BitPay merchants. Once you install CryptoKit, you won't need anything else. For more information or to download CryptoKit, visit CryptoKit.com.
The BitGive Foundation is a non-profit charitable giving organization leveraging the power of the Bitcoin community to improve public health and the environment worldwide. Help us demonstrate the significant impact of Bitcoin in addressing these critical issues on a global scale. Support international giving in Bitcoin. Please visit our website at www.bitgivefoundation.org. That's www.bitgivefoundation.org.
Welcome to Smart Law, a show about using decentralized consensus systems like the Bitcoin protocol to reshape the legal system. I'm Pamela Morgan, attorney, entrepreneur, and educator. Thanks for joining me. Today I want to talk about something really exciting. I want to talk about using the blockchain as a proof of existence for legal documents. This already exists at proofofexistence.com. And proof of existence allows you to record the existence of a document in the blockchain. You can prove that the document existed on a certain date, and you can prove that the document that you have in your possession is in fact the original document that was uploaded to the blockchain. This is important for a number of reasons, and it's applicable in a number of legal areas. One area is in estate planning. Many times my clients come to me for estate planning, which basically means drawing up a will, drawing up a power of attorney, those sorts of things. And a will simply directs an executor on how to distribute assets upon passing. Some of the issues that surround having a valid will include proper attestation, authentication, forgery, making sure that the document that you have is the most recent, storage, and then proving the existence of the will itself. A valid will be dated and signed. It'll also be authentic and not modified. So how can the proof of existence on the blockchain help us to prove these things? Well, one, if we upload a PDF or unmodifiable version of a document, that document will be time-stamped on the blockchain. And so we'll have proof that that document existed at that day, on that time. And you can use the e-signature to make sure that the document was dated and signed appropriately. By using the blockchain and the proof of existence feature, you can prove that this document existed on a certain day. And if you have the original, you can prove through hashing SHA-256 that the file exists unmodified. This is important because many times wills are contested due to a forgery or some sort of modification to the will. And so this technology exists on the blockchain now. We can use it now to help our clients. I tested this out myself. I wanted to see what the process was like. And it was fast and easy. I simply took a document, went to proofofexistence.com, uploaded the document, followed the instructions. I paid 0.005 Bitcoin. Ended up to be approximately $3.12. I added a small token for the miners. Ended up costing me $3.74. And I now have a proof on the blockchain that my document exists. I can go back, and I did go back and verify the contents of that document and made sure that the hash does equal, and it in fact does. So I feel like using this technology today is a great way for attorneys to ensure that documents are proved, and it's a much faster, simpler, and more effective way than recording these type of documents with the city. One of the benefits of using proof of existence is that the contents of your documents remain confidential, and that's a big deal for clients and attorneys. So by posting or by using the blockchain to prove the existence of this document, you're not disclosing the contents of the document. Instead, you're simply disclosing that there is a document, that I have it, and the document that I have is exactly what was uploaded on that date. This is very important to protect confidentiality. There are so many ways that we can use the blockchain in law. There are so many ways we can use it today, and there are so many opportunities to develop the technology further. The peer-to-peer decentralized consensus system allows us to move the justice system not only as attorneys, but also for clients. I look forward to exploring more of those ways. Thanks for joining me for Smart Law. See you next time.
All right, this is Stephanie. I'm at the Texas Bitcoin Conference, and I'm talking with Ryan Nill. Hi, Ryan. Welcome to the show.
How's it going, Stephanie? Thanks for talking.
You had an article published on Let's Talk Bitcoin recently about housing cooperatives. Is that right?
Well, it was more about the cooperative movement in general and how I think that it has a kind of collaborative, community, asset-based ideology, and how that matches very much with Bitcoin and some of the other kind of new industries that are arising, how you could get some basically cooperative and emergent effects from it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And can you tell me a little bit about the cooperative housing project that you worked on?
Yeah, so I work with a community called La Reunion Cooperative Apartments. We're located in Austin, Texas, here where the Bitcoin conference is currently going on. We've been around for almost a year. Our birthday's in a month. And what we did is we took a kind of run-down apartment complex, and the housing market in Austin's really booming, and it's a seller's market, so it's really hard to find good, affordable housing. And these kind of like old, run-down apartment complexes are getting bought up and redeveloped into luxury housing. So what we did is we went in there and we bought the property, and we told and it was mostly like low-income minority families that were living there, and we told them that we're not kicking you out, we're new landlords, but we're not going to like jack your rents up a ton, we're not going to like try to push you out. But we do need you to be part of this cooperative, and basically we're democratically managed, member-run and organized, and they have a really powerful effect. The members aren't going to raise the rents themselves and self-exploit. The example that I always tell people is that there's been student cooperative housing in West Campus for the University of Texas for 60 years, and if you compare their rents compared to the rents of the luxury apartments that they're building now, it's like nearly double for the nice ones. So it's about $1,000 for a one-bedroom suite and $500 for the cooperative suite.
Mm-hmm. So, and what about the quality of the living conditions? I mean,
well, so when we bought it, like we kind of had a shady landlord, and she didn't really want to tell us like what was wrong with it, obviously, because that would decrease the value of the property. So when we bought it, half of the units had like bed bug infestations.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was terrible. I mean, there was a roach problem. There was a dude who didn't have AC, and this is like April in Texas, and it's hot. And, all of these problems. People's doors don't work. They've been kicked down a few times. So we get there, and, we're trying to tell them about this new, empowering landlord, and they're like, this just kind of sounds like some more weird social control that we're used to.
Yeah.
And, but, after like 3 weeks, we solved the bed bug problem. We fixed some doors. We buy some portable AC units for the guy who had it broken and kind of fix it up. And after about 3 weeks, they're like, yeah, you guys are way better than the previous landlord.
Mm-hmm. So kind of gaining some trust in the community.
Yeah, for sure.
So I know there are many different ways to kind of organize and manage co-ops. Like they're all member-owned and democratically controlled, but like within that, there are different ways to structure how decisions get made. So like, tell me about how it works day to day.
For sure, we use a pretty traditional kind of democratic majority vote system. So we have meetings every Sunday, and you can bring up anything. And so, for example, I'm the treasurer. And recently I reached out to the Bitcoin 100, and the conversation that we had at the meeting was, over dinner. And I was like, hey guys, these guys are going to give us $1,000 if we put a Bitcoin donation button on our website. And they're like, that sounds cool, you should do that. And, a couple weeks later, I had done that. And could you just imagine going to any other commercial development and being like, hey, you guys should take Bitcoin?
Yeah, well, we have to ask our lawyers and our board of directors, and it's probably not going to happen. Yeah, that's probably the answer you'd get.
Precisely. And I think when you're dealing with people who are members and consumers and workers and institutions, you're a lot more likely to get kind of support and buy-in for, what people consider crazy, wacky, out there ideas. Like a lot of people consider Bitcoin right now.
Yeah, and so everyone who lives there would be a member of the co-op?
Yeah, so the membership dues are essentially rent. So if you pay rent there and live there, you are a voting member.
Okay, so is that kind of a way for people to have a little more ownership over the apartment that they're living in instead of just kind of paying a landlord and being really not responsible in any way for the future of that property?
Yeah, exactly. So, at first we kind of called ourselves the maintenance co-op because we had 5 to 10 different members who were working on maintenance. And yeah, so people really get engaged. Part of membership is that you have to do labor. So we typically require 2 to 4 hours of labor a week. And that's how you get the cost savings because, we have 34 resident members right now. So that adds up to, probably 100 hours a week of labor, and it's essentially free. And those labor savings go directly into lower rents.
Yeah, that's really cool. Did anyone leave or move out because they didn't want to join the co-op?
Yeah, there was a few people, and we probably retained about a third of the original tenants, so 2/3 moved out, and some of them were just because they had to move, they wanted to move, and it had nothing to do with us. Some of them probably thought it was kind of weird, and they didn't have, they're mostly living in poverty, a lot of them, and they didn't have working 60 hours a week. Like, it's just hard to find those extra 2 or 4 hours, and we still struggle with that. And, a lot of people work really hard and have other projects, so it's kind of sometimes hard to bring it back to the co-op. So we had people leave like that. And then there's just, we bought the people who are into co-ops in Austin, because since it comes from a college community, that's kind of the genesis of it here, you tend to see white and educated folk. And so that was kind of the founders were mostly white and educated. So you had to deal with like class and race issues. So some people kind of moved out because of that tension. So, but the people that stayed, we got some people who are elderly. We got some kids running around, like 5-year-olds running around. So this is actually, very diverse compared to the traditional cooperative community.
Yeah. What if, have you had a problem with too many people wanting to live there?
That's actually a huge problem with housing co-ops in Austin, and that's one of the main reasons we bought this. We actually have a wait list with probably like 10, 20 people. So we.
But you can't raise the rent.
No,
yeah.
we can't. We're not going to.
Wouldn't want to.
No, because the members would be exploiting themselves if they did that, and you're not going to get people to vote to do that to themselves. And so the solution is to build more of cooperative housing stock. It's just difficult because when you tell investors, oh, hey, we're not going to give you control and don't expect, the huge return, expect more modest returns, it's a bit harder to get money in those kind of situations. And that's kind of the drawback in the current economy.
Right. So do you tell people, is there a Bitcoin community there? Do you tell people about Bitcoin? Do they know about Bitcoin?
So at first it was mostly just me because I was really into it, and it's easy to sell people on it when I can tell them it's free money. But there was a member who had already had some Bitcoin previously that once I told him about it, he was excited about it. One of our new associates actually paid his membership dues in Bitcoin using the donate button on our website. So it's not like a huge community, but it was easy to set up, and it doesn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
So
and then does the co-op vote on what to do with the Bitcoin, or this in the same way that they would vote on what to do with the rent, or do they vote on that?
So I actually just, when I knew we were getting $1,000, I just allocated it. We were very conservative in our budget making when we bought the place because we didn't know what the real costs of managing this place would be. And we only really allocated money for maintenance. So we have a food program. We actually get donations from a program called Keep Austin Fed, and they bring us food that would have been thrown away.
Wow.
So we got a lot of good social programs, and those things need budgets, and they don't have budgets. And one of the things is we want to set up an internet infrastructure because, if you're poor and you need a job, the internet's pretty much the only way to go about doing that nowadays. So the $1,000 is actually going to set up a mesh network that we're hoping can start to, so that people in the other complexes around our complex can access internet. And we're actually working with I think they're called the Free Network Foundation, and they set up the mesh network that the Occupy Wall Street people use to get their internet from.
Cool. Wow. Well, that's really exciting. Is there anything else you want to add, and where can people get in touch with you if they want to find out more?
So you can go to La Reunion, that's spelled like it is in English, coop.org to find out more. You can donate Bitcoin, and you're totally welcome to come check us out. And if you want to be a member, come to our meetings on Sunday at 7 o'clock.
Cool. Ryan, thanks so much for talking about this with me.
Thank you, Stephanie.
This is Chris Joseph bringing you news on Next, the first true second-generation cryptocurrency for April 1st, 2014. The Next blockchain passed block 100,000 this past week, and this week, the third and final part of BC Next's plan for Next will be released. Originally, Next was not going to become fully open source until this week, but the source code was made public last month instead. Since that release, the community has put pressure on client developers to release source code for their clients as well, and 5 clients have stepped up to the plate. These clients are the new JavaScript client for Next, Offspring, Client Next, and Next FreeRider, all of which are cross-platform, and Next Solaris, which is available for Mac OS and Windows. You can find all of these clients and their source codes at nextclients.org. For more general information on Next, head to nextcrypto.org or mynxt.org. And stay tuned for more news on Next on the next Let's Talk Bitcoin broadcast.
Okay, this is Stephanie Murphy for Let's Talk Bitcoin. I'm here at the Texas Bitcoin Conference talking with Angela Keaton from antiwar.com. Hi, Angela.
Hey, Stephanie.
Thanks so much for being on Let's Talk Bitcoin. Tell me about what you do at Antiwar and how that relates to Bitcoin.
Well, at antiwar.com, all we do is gather news, views, all kinds of opinions and activism on U.S. foreign policy, and that's our total focus. So 24/7, we have readers from all over the world. But one of the things we do is we try to through our activism kind of get people to think about war. Now, we are libertarians. We're not a libertarian site. We represent all ideologies. But as libertarians, we try to get people to think a little differently about things, right? Like about the dollar, Federal Reserve note, how much that is tied to funding the warfare state. Like how much of your taxes goes to the largest welfare program of them all, the empire. And that's, of course, it's the welfare program that kills children, occupies countries, tortures, and just creates all kinds of death and destruction. So why not do something differently to, we love money, right? I love money. I'm sorry, I do. I like having wealth. I like having, but and to me, a medium exchange, I'm not sentimental about it. I mean, whatever. It's a paper dollar. It's something else. It's a seashell. Who cares, right? But I'm excited. I'm just very, very excited about the future, just as a human being, even if I weren't at antiwar.com, to think that there are ways of doing things where I'm not involving myself further in the empire. So as part of Bitcoin, we're one of the groups that's represented under the umbrella of Bitcoin Not Bombs, along with great groups like Free Aid. We are just, really teaching people to think differently. And of course, the kind of people who are early adopters of Bitcoin Not Bombs, these are people who are very progressive in their thinking and very forward thinking. So it was just an easy match. It's a really, really good match.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned something today at the charity luncheon that we had here at the Texas Bitcoin Conference about peace dollars. And when I hear the term peace dollar, I've definitely heard the term war dollar before, the contrasting term. But there is actually a silver piece that people refer to as peace dollars. Do you know the history of that? Can you tell me more about it?
I wish I did know the history of that. Though, if anyone has any of them, we'd be happy to take them at antiwar.com, and then I can learn more about the history of the peace dollar. No, I wish I did. A lot of I'm shamefully ignorant of some of the anti-war movement, apart from legal and political aspects. So, but this conference, the last time I went to a Bitcoin convention was in San Jose, May of 2013, and I was very skeptical. And I was always very skeptical, even when I first adopted Bitcoin. I said at antiwar.com, we're calling this the Bitcoin experiment. I was not getting married to it. If it didn't work, I'd write about that too on the blog, saying, yeah, okay, this is a bad idea, or a tweet or something about it, because we at antiwar.com, we don't, we just if we've made a mistake or we don't like something, we just say, okay, well, this is why we're going to do this differently now. So that was that skeptical. I was that, and I didn't. I've seen alternative currencies in different forms, coming out of different ideological movements. And how do you get people? How do you compete against the dollar, which obviously has lost a lot of its luster anyway? But still, people are very emotionally attached to that. It's part of their American identity, even if they're not consciously thinking about it. So, with Bitcoin too being international currency, I kind of like, the whole notion is very silly, kind of sentimental libertarian ideas about free trade, but how that sort of thing creates positive interactions between people and different nations. And that's the sort of mentality you need to have to see people as humans so that we don't have more war.
Right, so trade decreases the likelihood of war, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is really interesting. There's a lot of different directions we can go with this, but I want to just touch on the fact that antiwar.com has been under FBI surveillance. Some of the members, you radicals, trying to get peace in the world.
Well, I don't want to scare people off, but one of the things that my main, reason, well, there's a couple of reasons for why we took Bitcoin. Why I wanted the experiment. One, donor demand. Donors kept asking, and people. I said, okay, well, it seems like it's getting a little bit of pickup. Let's serve our donors. These are our readers. These are the people who go out. They take our ideas and they go act upon them. So, yes, let's look into this and give this a chance and see. But also, privacy. People want privacy now. They're going to have to pry, our donor lists out of my cold dead hands, which is why one of the reasons why we're so grateful the ACLU took our case on Yeah, it's a very long story, but antiwar.com has been under investigation by the FBI, and the founders of the organizations and my boss have seen the various files, or seen many of the files, and it's all mostly whited out, blacked out. It's all quite I don't know. The whole thing's rather ominous and weird, but I know that everyone's being spied upon. When you think they're paying extra special attention to you, it is kind of creepy. And throughout most of my activist life, I've just deliberately kind of lived in denial about what surveillance is. Like, whatever, there's 1,000,001 activists, who cares, right? I mean, the chances of it being you are pretty small, until, of course, it's your boss, and then you think about it very differently. So with Bitcoin, there is none of that. I mean, you can do Bitcoin to Bitcoin transfers. People don't have to know what your politics are. You don't have to explain it to your accountant. You don't have to explain it to your husband. You don't have to explain it to anyone. It's something you did. That's pro-peace. And the thing is, I mean, where we can get, antiwar.com, it kind of lowers our transaction costs if I can do something via Bitcoin. I don't have to use, let's say, maybe PayPal or some of the things that have a cost attached to them. And all those things add up. I mean, we have those things because our donors, many of them love PayPal. That was one time the very hot thing was PayPal. Or some of these other methods of payment that people who are kind of on the, who tend to be out of the computer world, sort of more of the forward thinkers. I was thinking about the general Bitcoin people generally. They want to try all these things. We try all these things, but still the issue of, it costs to do business. It costs it costs money to run a nonprofit. It takes staff to do things, and it's difficult, but if we cut out some of these transaction costs, it saves us money. It doesn't take as much, it can help, keeps our budget in check. So I can see too many downsides at this point, beyond the fact that, I guess we're all speculators and we're all part of a much larger experiment, but whether I like it or not, cryptocurrency's here. I mean, it wouldn't matter, even if, I was a skeptic, but but it didn't matter. I mean, the world's going to change. It'd be like not accepting cars at one time, like, I'm going to do a horse and buggy. I mean,
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I was really interested in the donor privacy aspects because I know that one of the reasons that a lot of people got interested in Bitcoin in the first place was when WikiLeaks was cut off very famously by PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, and literally 97% of the global financial network at that time. You couldn't send a payment to WikiLeaks, and it was all done extra legally. Nobody said WikiLeaks is illegal now. It was all just pressure from the U.S. government, and that's all it takes, really, for politically unpopular organizations that are interested in freedom. And I know that there are some people who wanted to support WikiLeaks or perhaps wanted to support Defense Distributed, who was doing, the Cody Wilson's thing, 3D printed firearms, or even Planned Parenthood, and just didn't want other people to know about it because they didn't want to be judged or whatever. And I imagine anti-war, it might be like that. Some people might want to support that organization, but want to do so privately, so they can now do that with Bitcoin, right?
It is true. I mean, there are people. And by the way, I mean, we lost donors because of the FBI's investigation once that became public. Because, and these are generally people of means too who just thought, why court trouble in my life? Especially if you're very established, especially if you have a lot to lose. Like, why ask for trouble? So you lose some major donors that way. And I understood. I mean, what was I going to say? Now, even though I would never, release names, I don't know. I mean, we're never going to know what I'm a skeptic on that too. I don't think we're ever going to know exactly what the government's keeping track of on antiwar.com. I try not to give it really much thought beyond the interest, what's important to report about the case as it's progressing. But I try not to think too hard about that aspect of working there, because otherwise it would change the way I interact with people. But with Bitcoin, it is changing the way we interact. It allows us to buy, it allows people to do things like Silk Road. I had a friend who had needed actual medication. If you don't have health insurance, it's really hard to buy a lot of medications. Bitcoin, that's a solution. I mean, it's a solution to a problem. So I think it's a great thing for anti-war activists. It's a great thing for people who are, in the tech world. All these things. I mean, this is just a wonderful way of doing business, and that's important. I like doing business. I'm a big fan of it.
Great. All right. Well, antiwar.com is your website, and anything else you want to tell the audience?
Oh no, thank you, Stephanie, so much for having me today.
I appreciate it. Angela Keaton from antiwar.com. Thank you so much. This is Stephanie from Let's Talk Bitcoin. I'm here talking with Ty Zen from Next. Hi, Ty.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Glad to have you here. We've been trying to reach out to you guys for a while now, so glad to meet up here at the Texas Bitcoin Conference.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you, too. We are at the Texas Bitcoin Conference. And what is Next for someone who's never heard of it?
Okay, so Next is a second-generation cryptocurrency, and it's a 100% second generation. It is not a knockoff of the Bitcoin source code. It's not a duplicate. It's not a copy and paste. The inventor of the Next source code is a person named BC Next, and we think that he's from Europe or from Russia somewhere. And it's a completely new source code that's written in a completely different language. It's in Java, and so it's not like the other altcoins that you see.
Right, so this has been designed from the ground up, and it has some different features that are not included in Bitcoin 2 at the current moment.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, exactly. What happened was that BC Next saw that there was a lot of features that was missing from the Bitcoin protocol. So when he created this, and I say he, it could be a she. We don't know, okay? It's anonymous.
Like Satoshi from Next, yeah.
Yeah, so BC Next created this source code called Next, and he did it from scratch. And he built in all the features into it that was not available in the Bitcoin source code, and also the features that you cannot add to the Bitcoin source code now, because it would drastically affect, a lot of people.
And yeah, when I said that, I was talking about messaging and a distributed exchange. Is that right?
Yes, they have a messaging system. They have right now, the biggest thing that they're working on is the peer-to-peer asset exchange, because of the situation with Mt. Gox, and there's a big demand in the market for a peer-to-peer exchange that has transparency to it and that's not centralized. So they have the test net out, and people can go to the Next thread at Bitcoin Talk, or go to nextcoin.org or nextcrypto.org, and they can sign up and use the test net and help develop it.
Wow. So, a lot of people are talking about doing distributed exchanges with Bitcoin, but this is actually already happening.
Yes, it's already, there's already I'm not sure if it's the alpha version. I'm not a coder, I'm not a developer. I just help with the marketing team, but I know that they have the testnet out, and I've seen a lot of people test it already. They're actually right now in the process of testing exchanging Dogecoins and other altcoins through the asset exchange. So it's really exciting times, and there's a lot of development going on.
Such wow.
Yeah, such wow.
Yeah. All right. So every Next wallet is a Brain wallet by default. Is that right?
Yes. BC Next decided that to avoid confusion and everything, they set it up as a Brain wallet initially. Right now, there are 7 clients or 7 wallets that's been put out, and they all use some type of Brain wallet. Which for the listeners, the Brain wallet is where you just put in the long password, and that creates the entire account. So in order for you to activate a Next account, you would have to create it, and then myself or somebody else that owns Next would have to send you a few Next coins so that it activates your account.
Yeah, or you could buy them on an exchange like Cryptsy, right, or Beater, right?
Yes, you can buy it from Cryptsy, you can buy it on Beater.com, or you can buy it on DGEX, which is the first Next exchange.com, and send it to yourself, and that will activate the account also. So
tell me about the sending and receiving of Next, because I know that there's not like mining like there is with Bitcoin with Next. They have something called transparent forging, right?
Yes, and the transparent forging is completely different from the Bitcoin mining. Bitcoin mining serves 2 purposes. Several purposes. One is to process the Bitcoin transactions, to secure the network, and to mint new coins. The Next transparent forging is very unique and very revolutionary, because instead of minting new coins, the only thing that it does is it uses what's called a proof of stake process. And what that does is it only allows you to process transactions. There's no new Next coins created. There's 1 billion Next coins that were created from the original source code on the day that it was launched and released, and that's it. So everybody just recycles those 1 billion coins.
And so how did the coins get distributed? I think that's something people want to know about.
Okay, so there's a big controversy with the Next, because the 1 billion Next coins were distributed through similar to what an IPO process is. And so BC Next put up an announcement for a certain period of time. I think it was like a month or a month and a half, where if you, he was trying to raise 21 Bitcoins. And if you were willing to send in 1 Bitcoin, you got that percentage of the 1 billion next. So it's a proportional and percentage-wise base. So a lot of people say that it's pre-mined and they have an issue with that.
So there's only 21 people that got next in the first round. Is that what you're saying?
No. It's not 21 people. It's if you sent in half of a Bitcoin or a quarter of a Bitcoin or a tenth of a Bitcoin, you got that percentage of the 1 billion next.
Got it, okay.
So no, it's not 21 people. There were actually 73 original stakeholders, and they all sent in the next. Right during that IPO period, and during that time, the BC Next distributed, and there's I think around 13 million or so that were unclaimed. So whoever sent in the Bitcoins to get Next started, they didn't claim it. So we use the community. The Next has a very strong community, and they use those 13 million unclaimed Next coins, and to develop the infrastructure and for marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yes.
Okay, so the clients for Next, there's 7 clients out that you mentioned, and
yes.
This seems like they're really prolific with coming out with these clients. It's only a few months old, and now there's already lots of different ways to use it.
Yes, it's one of the more popular second-generation currencies, and after around 100 days now that it's been out on the market, there have been there's a lot of developers that enjoy the fact that Next is not a copycat of Bitcoin and that it's an original source code. So the people that are looking to pour their time and effort and coding abilities into an altcoin, they chose Next because of its non-copycat nature. And so right now we have approximately 7 clients. A lot of them are open source, so their code can be reviewed, but they're being in development right now. And you can go to nextclient.com, I think, or nextclient.org. It's one of those sites. It contains all 7 of the clients that people can choose from. Or you can go to any of the nextcoin.org or nextcrypto.org and find those clients also.
Okay, and there's an actual store where you can buy stuff with Next. Is that right?
Now,
I've seen that.
I haven't seen that yet. I mean, the developments in the Next community are coming so fast that it's kind of hard. It's challenging to keep up with everything, too. So now that you mention it, now I'm aware that there's a Next store. So.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, speaking of open source, the Next, I don't know what you call it, the Next code became open source recently, right?
Yes. There's something that's very unique about the Next source code. When Next was released, they did 2 things that I thought that was pretty cool about it. One was that they purposely injected it with 3 security flaws at different levels. Okay, so they did that on purpose, and they announced it to the community. And the reason why they did that was because if anybody wanted to copycat the source code when it was launched, it would be a problem because the source code has 3 security flaws in it. And at the same time, those 3 security flaws was also an invitation. They put that in there to invite people in the crypto community to inspect the source code, and whoever found those security flaws would receive a very large bounty. So it's to prevent copycats. It's to for security reasons they did that. And the other thing that they did with the Next source code that was very unique is that they made it so that they were several versions ahead. So whatever features when they came out the alias system, the messaging system, every time they came out with a new feature, they would be 2 or 3, like a couple of features ahead before they released the source code to everyone. Mm-hmm. And so that they were always ahead, so that if somebody tries to copy it, because you know as well as I do that a lot of people are trying to copy these different codes that people come out with,
sure.
And they're not willing to put in the time and the effort to develop it, but they're willing to copy other people's and change a few parameters. So
right.
Those are the reasons why the Next source code was released the way it was.
That's interesting. Wow. So, okay, I mean, what are your favorite things about Next? Why are you passionate about it?
The biggest thing that drew me to Next was that I was looking for, I thought that Bitcoin was one of the most revolutionary technologies that takes power away from the 1% on Wall Street and give it back to the 99% on Main Street. And I wanted to help pitch in with Bitcoin, but I'm not a coder, I'm not a programmer, and I come from a sales and marketing background, so I could not help out them with that because there's enough people on CNBC and Bloomberg to help promote Bitcoin. So what I did was I looked at the different altcoins and what was available that needed help. And I looked through hundreds of them, and they all, to me, were just a copycat of Bitcoin. They had one or two features here, but there was nothing spectacular that got my attention. And my colleague, Leon, he introduced me to Nex, and he said, hey, you said you didn't want to help with these other altcoins because they were just a knockoff of Bitcoin. Well, here's one that's not. It's an original source code. So I started looking and researching into Nex, and I saw how that it was put together. At first, I was turned off by the proof of stake, the pre-mine, the 1 billion coins that was distributed. And but then when I learned what the proof of stake was, it changed my mind. So I was able to get more involved into it. And so here, I'm actually here representing, being an ambassador for Nex. I help out on their marketing efforts. So here I am at the Texas Bitcoin Conference.
Great, Ty. Well, anything else you want to add about where do people find out more online if they're curious?
The best, adoption of a new coin has always been the biggest challenge for all the coins, and so what I've done is if you go to my Freedom blog, it's at prisonorfreedom.com / 2014 Texas Bitcoin Conference. I have the instructions there in a video there of how to download, verify, and install the Nex client. And then if you leave a comment there, if your audience leaves a comment there with their Nex account number, I will send them 4 Nex coins just to get their account started so they can see how it works.
Great,
right?
Very cool.
We have a very supportive community, and we like to help each other out. So if your audience wants to test out Nex and see how it works, they're welcome to come to prisonorfreedom.com and leave a comment with their account, and I'll send them some Nex to try out.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. This has been great.
And thanks for having us on Let's Talk Bitcoin, and look forward to seeing you guys again at the next conference.
Right, at the next conference.
Thanks for listening to episode 97 of Let's Talk Bitcoin. Visit us at letstalkbitcoin.com for more content, subscribe to our feeds, tip our shows, and of course try out all our other shows on the LTB network, like Paul Boyer's award-winning Mad Money Machine, Ed and Ethan's live Bitcoin report every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time, Dr. Stephanie Murphy and Brian Sovereign's Sex and Science Hour, and of course, the boys in Nashville serving up Bitcoins and gravy. Content for today's episode was provided by Stephanie Murphy, Pamela Morgan, Ryan Nill, Angela Keaton, Tai Zen, and Hasib Awan. Special thanks to the Texas Bitcoin Conference for a great event. This episode was produced and edited by Adam B. Levine. Music for this episode was provided by Jared Rubens and General Fuzz. Any questions or comments? Email Adam at letstalkbitcoin.com. Have a good one.